Fellow tennis nerds, I hope all is well. Welcome to the Head Gravity 2025 Oxetic 2 racket review. We're going to talk about 3 models today. There will be more models, maybe more updates to come about these frames the more time I have with them, but I wanted to get this one out to you. And we'll talk about the Pro, which is the most advanced version, and the new Tour, which is a 98 square inch racket, and the MP, which has the largest appeal of the bunch. It's a bit easier to use. What's new with the 2025 Gravities is that their tech, the Oxetic 2, is now positioned in the carbon yoke and at the end of the grip. So you're getting a little bit more of a plushness, of a dampened feel. I'm not saying that's a negatively dampened feel, but it's definitely a softer feel on impact, even on like off-center hits. That's what the Oxetic seems to do. And you're still getting a little bit more of a power feel to it, maybe a little bit more of a push in the racket. That's what I felt with the Oxetic rackets. And what they've also done overall is that they've reduced the stiffness rating of these frames. As you know, stiffness is measured in quite a few places. I'm not sure if they're measuring always the average or if they do 1 point, but definitely overall quite soft frames in terms of flex. Like we're talking high 50s strong flex ratings on the new Gravities. Usually they're in the low 60s. So some tweaks have been done, and one very positive tweak about the Gravity Pro is that they've reduced the swing weight a bit. They've made it a bit more headlight, so you're not expected to get these 340 strong swing weights. I actually got one that's perfect for my game, 328. The same case was when I tried it in San Luis Obispo and Tennis Warehouse. So a little bit more of a dampened feel, softer feel, overall really like plush rackets these. Steven described the Tour as like a prestige on steroids. He really liked the sweet spot sensation. So the Gravity Tour 98, it will be a favorite to some of you. But let's take them one by one and start with the Gravity Pro. As I said, this frame is the one that's used mostly on Tour. It used to be used by Sasha Zverev, but now I think he's trying a Gravity Tour 100, which will not be available everywhere, but I think maybe in some jurisdictions, or you can get the older version, the 2023 Gravity Oxetic Tour, which is 100 square inch. Now they have the 98. Gravity Pro is still 100, still a 20mm beam. Very much a controlled racket, used by Roman Safiullin, previously Zverev, and Andrei Rublev, to name a few players. It's one of those where like you're getting more control, but you're having a little bit of help from the teardrop shape and the 100 square inch head size. So it's kind of a modern control racket, modern prestige in that sense. I would say this Gravity Pro is the most forgiving one and the most easy to use in terms of specs. However, it's still not like an easy racket to play with. You need to bring the game. It's still 315 grams unstrung. If you're a very advanced player and you can generate your own power, and you want a more modern control frame instead of going for a prestige or pro stuff, then the Gravity Pro should be on your list of demos. For me, it still feels a little bit more demanding, and I prefer probably the Tour 98 for my game, but it's kind of a tight race now because the Gravity Pro is easier to use than it was before. You're going to have that pinpoint precision with the 1820 pattern. You're in full control of the ball. And with the softer feel, I think most players will enjoy. Sometimes the older Gravities could feel a little bit harsh at times on off-center hits, and if you're stringing it maybe with a full beta poly, it could be a bit tough. I always felt like the Gravity Pro played best with some kind of hybrid setup, like a multi-filament or natural gut in a hybrid with a round string. For example, like Head Lynx, Head Hawk, so many good strings. I liked the Gravity Pro with Head Lynx Tour the best. This one I tried with Head Hawk power, but I would still prefer it with Lynx Tour. A little bit more bite and spin on the ball, and holds tension a bit longer than Lynx Tour in my opinion. So the Gravity Pro, I would say, is an update, softer feel, easier to use, will appeal to a slightly larger demographic. It's not a huge change. They haven't done like mold changes or anything. With Head, they usually have like a pretty winning concept, and they do small tweaks to change the specs, and the cosmetic is amazing. I like the previous cosmetic. This one is even better. So
Gravity Pro.
yeah,
I got I don't know what the official swing weight are for those rackets, but the version I got was 338 strung. I mean, I served extremely well with this one. It's a beast on serve with thin profile. The new semi-cap grommets, like, I don't know if you see it here, but it's like half cap. I love the design. I saw it in Davis Cup in September when I was in Head's showroom. I love the glossy design. I had difficulties to be able to swing through the ball. I play more like a wind chill, like almost a bit, not like Nadal, but I don't play like you, so flat tennis. So I would really like to try your version, with the low swing weight. I think it could be like a switch. I used to play with the Gravity Pro in the past, but stopped when I was getting a bit older and slower. And a really good racket, good feel, very solid, very good on serve, really plows through the ball. And I don't know how much it's affected by the swing weight, but
so the Gravity Pro is a bit easier to use, but it still requires a very, very strong player. If we get to the Gravity Tour, 98 square inches, more open string pattern, 16-19, but still very plush in terms of feel. I struggle a little bit with the launch angle, but I have several friends who tried this with me who love this frame. It seems to be a bit of a polarizer because it's a Gravity, but it's not quite a Gravity with that kind of spinny vibe to it. But it's overall a very good frame. I like that they went 22mm beam, and I think it does many things well. Although it's not maybe my kind of frame, because a little bit of launch in the frame, but very soft, a lot of flex, and modern control players, they will like this one. You can definitely whip up some spin.
Christian, so what's your feeling about the Gravity overall? You've been playing with the other models a bit as well?
I mean, I've always kind of liked the Gravity line just because it's a fast swinging racket, like the mobility's always been excellent, and like the teardrop shape, I don't know if I like it or dislike it. I don't really think about it too much. All that I know is that it works well for me. If it's because of that or not, I don't know, honestly. But I feel like they're all pretty stable rackets that you can whip quite quickly through the air. I like the feel on it. I like the level of control it provides, and I mean that's that's already all I need. Power-wise, I feel like it's a bit of a upgrade to the last version. I think, like, listening to you, that's kind of the trend where everybody's going anyhow, so I feel like it fits in very well with that, while still keeping the control, and the spin potential is there on all of them except for maybe the Pro, which is an 1820, but I mean that's a different target group then anyhow. So no, I think it's a very, very good racket, and paint job looks sick. I mean, good stick, good upgrade from Head.
Power level maybe more like a Blade, but with a slightly higher launch angle than the Blade 16-19. But if you want more control launch, you can definitely get like a Radical. This is not like an unpredictable racket, but it has a bit of more spin potential, a bit more higher launch angle over the net. But I can understand why this frame will be the favorite for many people using the Gravity in the future, because it is more forgiving than the Pro, has a bit more spin potential, so for younger players who play more with Western grips and more topspin generated games, will probably appeal to them a bit more.
Hello dear Tennis Nerd community, my name is Simon. I'm usually part of the contributing team to the blog we have online, and today I'm coming to you with a video on the new release of the Gravity Tour 98. I've been playing with it now for a couple of weeks. Usually I'm playing my Gravity Pro in the Auxetic version, and I usually play with a setup of K-Pop on it or K-Pro, depending on the week and on the strings I have at home. But this time I've been trying out the testing package. I've been trying it out with the Hawk Touch that has been in there, as well as other setups including some Tourline strings. And I must say it's a pleasant new racket, but it's a little bit different probably from what we all expected with the 98 frame of Head. I think for years people like me that have been playing the Gravity Pro have been asking for the Gravity Tour or Gravity Pro 98, and now they've done it, but they've done it a little bit differently arguably than what we thought it would be. I think we would have expected a 20mm beam, such as in the Gravity Pro, and this one has a 22mm beam, as you might be aware. It's much more open in the string pattern here, so the racket will play a little bit differently from the Gravity Pro, but you can feel that it's the same family in my opinion. So it has also pretty classic throat design, a very flexy kind of throat design that makes it feel like it has some pocketing, it has a good feel on the racket. But at the same time, I think it's powerful enough and spinny enough for a modern game. So when there was something lacking from my Gravity Pro, and I've played both generations actually, And it was always then sometimes in defense, or when you wanted to go a little bit more on the defensive side, you were lacking that kind of power from the flick of a wrist or something. And that racket can easily do that for you. It also has a little bit of a higher launch angle. I think the direct comparisons for this one are probably things like the E-Zone, the Aero 98, something like that. It's a little bit less powerful and spinny maybe than the Aero, but right around the E-Zone 98, I would say. And also it has still a decent control level. So you could not expect the same control level actually as in the Gravity Pro, but I think for this racket it's still a decent combination. I can understand why Head did it. I guess that they wanted to take it a little bit away from the Prestige Pro, that is basically that 20mm 98 square inch racket. So I think it's a nice kind of twist, and with that racket actually you get the best of both worlds in my opinion. Stroke by stroke for the ground strokes, I think this was an excellent racket. There was a lot of emphasis on the sound actually, but I think it also performed great on all the things out there. Like it performed great on my forehand. You could go high and spinny, you could also go flat and low. The only thing I found a little bit sometimes when you wanted to go fast and flat, in comparison to a Gravity Pro, it has like this tendency to float a little bit, and you need to get used to that a little bit. That is probably why with this racket I play a little bit more spinny and a little bit more of an extreme grip maybe than I would with the Gravity Pro. Then for my backhand, I loved it. It's super stable, and all those Gravity rackets are. I think it's due to the head shape. They are a little bit more stable and a little bit better off center. I think that the biggest upside for me was on the serve. It was much easier to handle than the Gravity Pro. It's a smaller head size, it swings a little bit faster through the air. You can go for flat serves super easy. You can also spin pretty good. It's a little less forgiving than the Gravity Pro, but you can generate more power from your serve. You can also get a little bit more kick. So I think for serves, this was a big upgrade. On returns, I think it was a little bit below the Gravity Pro, which makes also sense. I mean, Gravity Pro 100 square inch, it is a beast of a racket. It can redirect the power perfectly. And with that one, you cannot just like let it sit there and redirect the power. You need to swing a little bit more. And that for my style of returning sometimes hurt me, but I think you can get used to it easily. And then finally at the net, I think it's stable enough for like an all-court player, but it's not like somebody's special racket for volleys. I think there are other rackets out there that are easier for that, but this racket is really a good compromise in everything. I didn't have any arm problems or anything, so I think the RA is a little bit low because it's probably the flexiest in the throat where they actually measure it. It doesn't feel like a 58 RA racket, but it feels soft enough. I never had any problem with my arm or with my wrist. But all in all, I think Head has really found a nice upgrade for the Head Tour, because actually the version before, so the Tour Oxetic in the 100 that Sasha Zverev is now using, was for me in stock form, it was a little bit too flimsy and a little bit less powerful and less of everything from the Head Gravity Pro, which I didn't like. But that doesn't mean that it's a bad racket by any means, but I think this one is actually an upgrade because it's more of, you know, a specific racket. It's not one-to-one the same as the Head Gravity Tour 100, but it's more of a racket that seems like one functioning concept, and that's why I love it for. So you definitely get much more power than you're used to probably from your Gravities. You get a little bit more spin, so a little bit more into those E-Zones, V-Cores or Aeros that are out there. But at the same time you get that kind of like classic Head feel still.
Very nice racket. You could feel the head, the flexibility of the racket, and I was feeling very comfortable on the forehand. On the backhand I felt that I have to move my hands a little bit more, but great racket, one of my favorites from all of these ones as well. Very nice control, it's like a glove.
Yeah, I saw you control the ball really well with this one. You know?
Yes. And got power, quite a lot of power from with my forehand.
Then when we get to the Gravity MP, also softer, even easier to use than the previous generation. 1620 pattern is a great one. I really feel like this one could use some customization, and then you can play with it up to a pretty high level. My friend Andre, he plays with the previous version of the Gravity MP, and he customizes it to his spec. He used to play Futures, so this guy can definitely hit a ball, but you can definitely tweak the racket to play more according to your specs. So overall, like, the Gravity is like another subtle improvement from Head. Beautiful cosmetics, great playing frames if you're looking for control, and now you have the 98, which I think was a good idea to have a bit more of a gravity spin option as well, that is still remaining low flex, easy to use and swing. So not like a huge update, but significant in some ways. And if you're liking a plush control frame, the new Gravity should be on your list. I think the Prestige will have a tough time competing now with these frames being a little bit easier to use control frames, but still being very plush. I would say some might have an issue with the head shape and size, like being a little bit wide and large. But for most players, this will just mean like that you're getting a bit more forgiveness, a bit more sweet spot. Power level not huge. I mean, you have to generate your own power. You have to adjust with strings. I would say for the Gravity lineup, try maybe a softer string or try a hybrid setup. This would be my recommendation. I think it adds even more feel and plushness to the setup and make them play even better. And for this one, maybe even like Lynx Tour would be my recommended choice over Hawk Power. Those are the Gravities. Another positive update, I think they've nailed the molds in many ways. Now they're doing subtle updates. I like that they introduced a new model with different specs. I think this is the main thumbs up. Overall, if you're a Gravity Pro 2023 user, you might not need to get the new one. You might be fine with the old one. They're both very, very similar in terms of playability, depending on your specs. If you're new to the Gravity line and you want the Pro, I would say the new Pro is a bit more user-friendly overall, so I would get that one. But I think this will be the main bestseller of the new Gravity line. I think it has the most modern appeal, and it's like a control frame with some potential in terms of spin and some pop to it as well, despite the low stiffness. That's it. If you're lost in the racket jungle, I understand there's so many rackets coming now in 2025. It makes your head spin. It's been a long process in trying all these and trying to evaluate them. As always, try to demo. We have our friends from Tennis Warehouse Europe, and Tennis Only. They offer demo programs. You get 10% discount even on Tennis Warehouse Europe with TNerd10. If you want to buy a racket, we get a small commission if you do, and that helps Tennis Nerd keep doing more reviews. If you need more help, check out tennisnerd.net for resources around finding your racket, a racket guide, and also a consultation service. Have a nice day now, and don't forget to play some tennis.